the Voices of Dracut. This is our first episode. If you'd like to be a guest in the show, just call over to Dracut TV. They'll introduce us and we'll try to get you on. The goal of the show is to capture the voices of Dracut. As someone who didn't grow up here, I'm always interested when I get to speak to people who did and hear all the great stories. So I figured I'd start at the top and I'd bring on Nancy and Warren Shaw, kind of just recap the life of, on the farm. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So you started to tell me before the show you didn't grow up in Dracut.
No, I grew up in North Andover.
Yep. So how did you meet Warren's dad?
Well,
go ahead.
Where
tell.
are we? Where?
It's a good story.
All right.
Yeah, at the Commodore Ballroom.
Commodore Ballroom.
Where everybody met in those days. Yeah.
So he was a farmer at that time?
Oh, yeah.
So my question, Nancy, as you look across the room, what was his name?
Warren.
You see Warren Sr.?
Yeah.
Good-looking guy.
You bet.
Farmer. You didn't think to maybe look for a lawyer or an accountant or something, maybe a little less hard work in your life?
No, I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to have some dances, that's all.
Yeah. So how many years ago was that?
1947.
Yeah. So talk to me about life on the farm in the 50s. Probably a little bit different than what Warren's going through now.
Well, yeah, we were kind of struggling, and he is too, you know. It's not easy to keep things going, but, you know, we just had a little store then.
Right, yeah.
And we weren't making ice cream then. And we had a lot of people on the milk routes. And we had an honor system at the store where people would come in and get what they wanted and figure out what they owed and put the money in a milk jug.
Wow.
Yep.
Could you imagine doing that in the store today?
No.
Probably no, Warren?
We do still have the milk jug. But
Yeah, it was, and if they thought they didn't have the right change, they'd put extra. We never were short of money, you know.
Right. But that's just great how you could do that and stuff. So talk to me a little bit about, you know, what life was like. So what did you have to do? Because it just seems like so much work. Just
what other people are doing now. You do what you have to do, but I mean, we work 7 days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We certainly did.
And it's not like it was a 9-to-5 job, obviously.
No. Warren would milk the cows, and then we had the store open till 9 at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a long day for all of us.
So back then you were just selling milk in the store?
Milk and juice and not too many things.
Yeah.
And then we realized that we had to have something else. So we met a friend from another part of Massachusetts that let us come to his place and see how they made ice cream. And we even got the formula from him.
Right.
And then we went around New England, Warren and I, to get an idea how you made ice cream. And it was quite an experience for us, but it worked out because the ice cream is what a lot of people come for, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so we started the ice cream. That was way back, I don't know, 1965 or something like.
It was probably 70-ish.
Yeah, and the rest is history. I mean, I used to make the ice cream pies and cakes and decorate, and we did what we had to do.
But like you said, it was interesting times. Now, did you have delivery back then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we had at that time.
We have a picture of my great-grandfather with a horse-drawn home delivery wagon.
Yeah.
So Shaw Farm has been delivering for 108 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but literally you started with the horse and buggy.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just in town then? How far could you go?
It was pretty much just in town. There was some in Lowell, Centerville.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, that's kind of how the business started, because my grandfather had a home delivery route on another farm.
Yeah.
Which was where the Dracut Historic Society is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were you guys the first owners of the farm? Did you guys, was it someone?
It was founded by Shaw's,
Mark and Albert.
No, before that.
Before that, yeah.
Right, so it was my great-grandfather that bought the first piece of land here.
Yeah.
And he's the guy we have the picture with. But it started, there's a lot of history that connects us to the Coburn farm, which was on Lakeview Avenue, at the exact site where the Dracut Historical, Harmony Hall, all that stuff, it was there. And so some of the Shaws worked there, and when their business failed because of something called hoof and mouth disease, and the owner of it, Oliver Coburn, decided he wasn't going back into the business, so he told my grandfather he could keep his accounts.
Nice.
And that's what started the retail business.
Yeah. But like you said, I remember being a little boy and the milk trucks coming through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And like in the summer, it was a big deal if they gave you ice, you know.
Oh.
But you know, I know you guys have a pretty sizable delivery road, but some of that's gone away though. You know, I kind of blame people. I don't mean this to be mean. People being lazy. You know, like bakeries and going to the farm. Well, I was already at the grocery store,
Right.
so I just kind of bought something at the grocery store. But it's been interesting, you know, doing events with you at the farm. Sometimes I think in Dracut we take you guys for granted because we have the dairy farm right down the street. But people come in and they go, strawberry milk, oh my God, you know, or ice cream, you know, and they come in and, you know, they end up leaving with product and stuff. And they're like, oh, you know, you're so lucky to have a dairy farm right down the street that you can get fresh milk whenever you want.
Yeah.
Because I don't drink a lot of milk, so that's why I really like, you know, having the dairy farm. Because you buy, you know, no disrespect to the store, you buy at the store, and by the time 6 days later comes when I finish the milk, it's sour. You know, so it's nice to know, hey, it's fresh right there and stuff. But so it must have been really hard work, obviously, to keep the farm going. And then, how many children did you have?
We had 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you guys all work on the farm?
Well, you did, and Ruth.
My oldest
and
sister Ruth
Susan.
worked
Yeah.
in the farm store a little bit,
Yeah.
Yep.
and when we founded ML Shaw, she was my partner in that for a bit, but the others didn't. Well, Susan worked in,
Yeah,
younger
Susan
sister
did
Sue
too.
worked in the farm store as well.
Yep.
And to be honest, I mean, they all, whenever we're doing events and things like that,
Sure,
they
you
all
bet.
become
You bet.
farmers. So, but they all made their living doing something else.
Now, did you ever do anything else besides being a farmer? Did you ever say, hey, you know, this farm life's not for me, and, you know, quote unquote, get a rail job?
I never left that job, but I did have a couple of restaurants. I
Yep.
had a Dunkin' Donuts down the street. I had, some would say, a political career
Yep.
locally. I have a lot of industry, so I do land use planning for the state.
Sure, yep.
But my income has always come from New Boston.
Right, yeah. Now, how did you, you didn't go to school for farming, did you? Or was you
I
just
took
got-
ag business. Yeah.
Oh, so you did?
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of education, but most of it was from just watching your dad and your granddad?
Well, there's a whole different thing because what my father and my grandfather did, if I was doing it that way today,
Yeah.
we'd be out of business.
Right, yeah.
Because you have to change, evolve, particularly where it regards the animal part of it, the farms.
Yeah.
Because we manage the dairy herd far differently than what they did, and it's because a lot of the, you know, the science, if you will, of the industry was found to be wrong. And so as time went on, we evolved with it. We now have, you know, we have a dairy nutritionist that works for us. We have veterinary service that uses us as a school, and all those kinds of things that, you know, we need to be able to survive. We need to be able to do everything perfectly correct.
It is, like I said, really amazing, just the pressure, obviously, of running a store. Because I remember recently you had to have a very small price increase. And I remember you know, going, you hate to do it. I, as a customer, looked at it and said, I believe it was like a dime or something. I'm like, it's a dime, you know, but...
The thing with us, Kevin, is that we can't compete with what they can do in the supermarket.
Sure.
I mean, you know, they have the economies of scale, and
Yep.
and the dairies they sell the milk of, you know, they don't pay the farmers very well, and so we have to give people a living, the people that work for us. So it's very hard to compete. So we're sensitive to the idea that the people that do support us
Right,
are
yeah.
paying more than
Yep.
they can go somewhere else and buy
Sure,
it. It's
yeah.
not as fresh, it's not
Right,
local
yeah,
or any
yeah.
of those things, but they can go to the supermarket and buy it cheaper.
But I'm really seeing a push for that, Warren. People want to know, okay, you know, the cows are across the street. You know, the freshness, you know, the pureness of it. As people becoming more health conscious, I think, you know, they really appreciate that, knowing that, okay, you know, as you joke, you know, has to see their cows.
Right.
Well, you know, I can drive by and I can see the cows and stuff. So I think there's really been a real push for that. So talk to me a little bit more about growing up. Now, there was an amusement park in Dracut.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
tell me
there
about
was.
that?
Our kids
'Cause
used to go
I've seen
on
the
it.
pictures, and I guess as
Yep, at
someone thinking
Lakeview.
about it now, like, how could there be an amusement park in Dracut?
Yep, there was. Your kids rode on some of the little horses, and yeah.
You brought us
In
up
fact,
there.
those horses are going out of town somewhere.
They're
Yeah.
in New York now,
Yeah,
I think, right?
in
What, the
York.
Bobby horses?
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen the pictures all the time, but I don't know anything
It
about it.
was redone and it's in New York, the
Yeah,
carousel.
yeah.
Yeah. So where was this park?
Right up at the lake there,
Lake
with all the
Mescopik.
apartments are and everything.
Up at Lakeview.
Okay, yeah.
Lakeview.
So was it just an amusement park, or was it just a Bobby
No,
horses?
it was an amusement
It was-
park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long ago was that roughly?
When I
Oh,
was
in the 50s.
You're not that much younger than me, are you?
Yeah, I'm 51, so.
So it was probably not there. I think it was on its way out when I was growing up. So, because I remember Soinis and Katsikas building the condos up there, and that's what's there today. The boathouse, that bar that's there. So from there, going toward the Tingsboro line on both sides of the street was this big, kind of a.
That had to be amazing. So.
Well, back in the day, there was a railroad line that came up out of the city to there.
Wow.
So
I never knew that either. No, that's why we're doing the show.
There's so much, Kevin. There's so much.
Yeah.
Well, we used to go to the Lakeview Ballroom, and my mother tells me that she used to come from Lowell or someplace on a train to get there. I don't know.
Right, streetcar, whatever they call them.
Right,
those days.
Yeah.
So share with me some of your memories of Dracut.
Well, one thing I was just thinking about, the wonderful customers that we've had through the years. And one of the families was the St. Gelais family. Remember all of them? They still come. Some of them live in Westford now. But when times were tough, my father-in-law and Albert, they made sure that these people had milk when they had big families.
Yep.
And I remember, I don't know what year it was, that Dad and I were invited to a party for the mother of that whole family. Down on the boulevard, I forget what restaurant it was, and we walked in there, and we recognized every face in that hall.
See?
And they had been told years ago, if you need milk, I don't care where you live, you go to Shaw's, because they helped us out.
Loyalty and goodwill. So what she's talking about is the family lived down in Beaver Street in Centerville, and during the Depression, back in '29 after the crash, there were a lot of people that had no jobs and no money.
Absolutely.
And my grandfather took care of this family for a long time.
Yep.
And they never forgot it. So they were every little segment
Every
of that
generation.
family supported us, which means so I don't know that today people have those kind of feelings, but there was a loyalty there that was.
I can remember my daddy
special.
teaching me that lesson growing up.
Right.
The local mechanic. You went and you got your gas there. You did all your repairs there. He knew your car. So when you were in a situation that maybe you didn't have a lot of money, you traded with him all the time. So he knew that you would still be faithful, and you can build up a business that way. It's a shame that we've gotten away from that.
The big box, what I call the Walmartization of everything. I mean, the supermarkets are part of it, Walmart, places like that just destroy all the little businesses and the people that work on them.
It is. It's challenging times. So share some of your other stories about life on the farm. Because I'm kind of fascinated by it, because back then it was just a small store.
What time did your husband leave every morning?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
He left at 5.
This is the fascinating thing to me, the most fascinating. I was around as a little kid on the farm, and she, actually my mother was a lunch lady at Dracut High.
Yeah.
And then
for quite a few years.
At some point she, came into the business and did
when
the
Albert
bookkeeping.
retired, I moved into his
Albert
job.
being the grandfather generation. But what I remember is, you and I have social things that we do outside of our work.
Yep.
Not so Warren Sr.
Right.
So I don't think he ever went out in his life, right, other than when he was with you. He went down the road at 5:15 every morning to the farm from where she lives now at 251 New Boston.
Yep.
Went to work, came home, had breakfast, and went back to work and stayed there all day, and then came home. Never did anything but that. Never ever did anything but that.
But then, of course, we had the Young Farmers Organization. We went into Farm Bureau. We started getting active in all kinds of
agricultural things.
Yeah, everything pertaining to the farm.
It was all about that, and every day was a 12-hour or more.
I'd say that it was 12. It was probably a short day for him.
Yeah. So my father milked the cows every morning for the longest period of time. That's, that can be punishing on your body.
Oh, absolutely, and stuff. So now, but like you said, you mentioned you got involved in some farm organizations.
Yep, Farm Bureau.
But that had to be important, just to share knowledge with each other too.
Oh, you
of
bet.
best ways, and like you said, maybe you're doing something that isn't what's best for your cows, which obviously is going to greatly hurt your business and stuff. So it's really kind of still a tight-knit community?
Right. So the organization she's talking about is the legislative advocacy for agriculture. So they were involved, it's county, state, federal. They were involved in the county portion of it. I still run into some of the friends that they used to associate with. So now I'm a director of the state portion of that organization, but it's important for every industry to make sure that they can communicate communicate with the legislators.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
so they were involved in that in the early going, did a lot. Actually, there's a place over on, this wouldn't mean a lot to many people, but on Route 119 in Littleton, there's a place called Flame. And it's the place where anybody that has animals around here that wants to just sell them, they go to this Flame,
Yep.
Farmers Live Animal Market Exchange. So buyers
Wow.
and sellers meet there. My father and a couple other guys were the founders of it. So that was certainly a big piece
Yeah.
of it, and it still runs today.
Yeah.
And
So,
before that, we belonged to the Young Farmers and Homemakers of Middlesex County, and then we just kind of graduated up to the Farm Bureau, and we got older, but that was a very active organization too.
so it must be interesting to have been in town so long and watched it change.
Oh, you bet.
Tell
You
me
bet.
about some of the things you saw that you were like, I never would have imagined that. Because obviously it's a lot different than when you first got on the farm. So when did you first start working on the farm?
Well, we got married in '47.
Yep.
But I didn't start working on the farm until I had a few children, and
Right.
there wasn't any spot for me, actually, you
Yeah.
know, until Warren's uncle passed away, and then I moved into the office and everything. But, we had lots of changes, most of them good, I would say, you
Yeah.
know. And we have a lot of faithful customers. I mean, I know there's people that have been coming for 40 years.
But
I'm
did you
sure.
ever imagine we'd have all this development? Because
Oh.
when you were first here, it was mostly farmland?
It was just
I
beginning.
wasn't here then.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was slowly developing. There was new developments all the time. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, there'd be a whole new bunch of houses go up the road to Rainbow Village and on New Boston Road, and the town just was growing, you know.
But that had to be interesting to kind of watch from, day one to where we are today,
Oh, yeah.
Where, like I said, it seems like there's a new development going up all the time and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle with that balance between keeping Dracut, the farmland that, we moved here for versus understanding that development comes and stuff, so.
Well, the important thing there is, and this is a great passion of my land protection, as you probably know, the people like my mother and father, my grandfather and grandmother before them, and so many other landowners in Dracut that didn't take the quick buck,
Yeah.
that held on to that land because it meant more than money to them.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times when they were running Shaw Farm, there was not enough money to take a paycheck. I mean,
Yeah.
You bet.
there was some very, very rough, lean times.
Yep.
And I can say the same thing occurred for every other landowner farm in Dracut. And the people that didn't sell out because of their connection. And so there's a lot to be said, I think, for those people.
Oh, absolutely.
I see them at state level too because of other stuff I do, and it's just, the easy way would have been, because he had plenty of opportunities to. I witnessed plenty of people showing up trying to buy the farm, or trying to run power lines across the farm, or many other things that they tried to do that would have taken that place out. And his resolve was steady. He never
Yeah.
would allow that.
And
to
you
happen,
worked
so.
with him on that.
Right. Well, we made sure that it could never be built because we did a Farmland Preservation Act
Right,
over
yeah.
it, so legally
Yeah.
it can't be
Right.
developed now.
Yeah.
But
Which, that had to be a major decision in your life, though. Because like you said, at some point in time, you're out milking cows 7 days a week, working really hard, trying to make ends meet, and you look out in the pasture and see all that land and go, there's a lot of money sitting right there.
well, I guess you can't be about money.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's not, because like you said, most people would have just sold,
Well, I mean, to me, it's a vision of wanting that place to be there. So,
Yep.
I mean, I've had other business ventures in town. I've sold a couple of them.
Sure.
And it didn't bother me to sell them.
Right.
So as this generation's owner of Shaw Farm,
Yeah.
for me to sell it would be very difficult because
Sure.
I don't really consider it mine. I consider
Yeah.
it part hers, part my father's, my grandfather's, all the people that worked so hard
Right,
to
yeah.
have it there.
And all the
to,
people in your future.
to cash in
Yeah.
on that would be wrong in my
Right.
view.
Yeah, no,
So-
that's a solid argument. Like you said, knowing that, like you said, you look up in 1908 established or something.
1908, yeah.
You look up at that sign, and like you said, you think about your mom, your dad,
Right.
your grandparents, saying, okay, who am I to end the Shaw legacy and Dracut?
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I said that would definitely be
Yeah.
kind of tough and stuff. So,
Yeah.
so
I would like it if Warren's father, well, your grandfather, could see the farm today.
That was my next question.
Yep.
So, so you pull into Shaw Farm now, you see that big building. When I first lived in town, you had, let's be polite and call it a store across the street.
Right.
Let's not
That's
call it a
where I
shack or
worked,
anything,
yeah.
let's call it a store.
That shack did a lot of business, Kevin.
Yeah. But, now you look at what you're doing. Every time I'm in there, there's something new. You've, like you said, as you mentioned, you have to continue to grow as a farmer, or you're going to take that pressure.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine it would be this big?
No, I never thought about it. It just, every day came along and you just did what you had to do. And it wasn't just our business. When we first married, nobody was making much more than $30 a week, but
Yeah.
we weren't.
Right.
I mean, that was what was going on in those days. It wasn't just farming, it was all kinds of business. Everybody was struggling. So
But you had that sense of community that sometimes we could use more of. Like you're talking about, the honor system and stuff. If we tried that in today's business,
Oh, my goodness.
you'd be like, okay, they just took like 17 bottles of milk and they left $1,
Yeah.
you just, but I think that's what made it better back then and stuff.
Oh, I think so.
Knowing that you could count on your neighbors. I know growing up, we had a convenience store in town that it was the same thing.
Yeah.
If he heard you guys were struggling, he would make sure you got stuff.
We can still count on our neighbors. I
It's amazing.
I heard what you said, but in the area where the farm is,
Yeah.
the same families have been there for multiple generations, and there's a solid bond that
Right.
you can still count on.
Yeah, that's
And we feel
utterly
fortunate
amazing.
to have
you
that-
should, yeah,
that
absolutely, and
situation.
stuff. So, do you have any other memories you want to share with us? Talking about growing up, you brought some notes.
Well, it was just some information that was in different
I
articles.
thought we were
in
staying
the-
2 hours.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Just, pictures of things that we were involved in years ago, articles that were written about the farm, and I'm very, very proud of them. And Warren didn't get to see some of them. Some
Right.
of them were after he passed away.
He took it as far as he saw I built a new barn in 2002,
Yeah.
which was a big deal for him to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
He was alive when I bought the property on March Hill, which was something he never thought anybody in the family would be able to do,
Yeah.
was add to the land base.
right, yeah,
He did not get to see the new
yeah,
The new store.
the new store
Yeah.
processing plant.
Somehow
but
or other
he
he knows.
knew I was going to do it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, he knew how I was wired, so most of the stuff he shook his head about, but,
Yeah.
different generation.
Right,
They
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
borrow money, they didn't,
Right,
they,
sure.
Oh,
so.
you bet.
But just like you said, as your next generation of your family takes over the farm, they're going to go in different directions. You might sit there and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're going to try that," and stuff. But as you said, if you're standing still in your business, eventually you're going to get caught up to. So,
I don't really care as long as I'm off the hook.
oh, there you go. That's kind of lovely. So now, how has things changed since let's go back to your dad. So you're working, along with your dad. How has things changed from what first happened versus like today? What would have been something like? What's the biggest major changes? Technology?
Oh, yeah. Every single thing, and I can't even, that sounds trivial, but every single thing we do is radically different. So when I was a kid milking cows, and I milked cows for a lot of years there, up until 3 or 4 years ago, the technology used to milk cows was, although it was automatic milking, it was buckets, so
Yep.
each one was done differently. It was a very
So that's really how it was done, like you see
right.
on TV. You're really milking the cows into a bucket.
not with your hands like this,
But, yeah.
but it was a machine that
Yeah.
milked into a bucket. And
Okay,
and
because
all
I
the
can't
milk had
imagine
to
you
be-
using your hands, trying to do that many.
No, but it means so much, and there was, and I look around town, and I think we used to rent all the land up here in the Mammoth Road area where the senior center is,
Yep.
the old Hanson farm, the Cutter farm. We rented all of those lands to grow crops for the cows. It's the same basic concept, but every single thing. So the way government looks at you, the way public health looks at you as a food safety
Sure,
business, everything is scrutinized.
Yeah.
Under a watchful eye, so everything had to be changed. So every single thing. So the barn, the cropping, the care of the animals, and then we start building buildings. But you just know. I mean, you would have to travel to the furthest reaches of upstate Vermont to find a farm that was run that way.
Yep.
They used to use bulls to breed the animals.
Sure.
If you think about that, every offspring is
Yep.
related. I mean,
Right,
it just doesn't
yeah.
make any sense. So we do advanced genetics now. So we have
Wow.
a genetics expert come in and
Yep.
tell us who we ought to breed each cow to. And when we do artificial insemination, which is what we do,
Yep.
we're creating a
amazing.
better generation all
Yep,
the time.
right, yeah.
But I mean, it's just everything about it is different. I'm grateful that the people that, and not many people can say this because most farms struggle to get people to work there
Right,
because people
yeah.
don't want to do the work. I have people that have never worked anywhere else.
Yep.
They've worked for me their entire lives. They do a fabulous job, and I simply wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Sure.
So, but I mean, they're just 30, 40, 50 years they've been with the company.
That's amazing.
Would never go anywhere else.
Right, yeah.
And so, that's a big part of it too. We've been able to grow the business
Yeah.
and advance the business in large part because of their effort too.
So now, how is the herd, if that's the correct word, changed over time? Obviously, you didn't have as many cows back in the beginning as you do now, I would think.
So they used to milk about 40 to 45 cows in
Yeah.
that barn.
What are you up to now?
And they would give about half the amount of milk as the 90 cows that I
Yeah.
milk there now. So there's twice as many animals giving
Right, yeah.
twice as much milk. So out of that barn that you see across the street when you're drinking your strawberry and banana milk, there's about 5,200 pounds of milk comes out of that barn every single day.
Wow. That's amazing.
5,200
Yeah.
pounds of milk every single day.
Yeah.
And some of it's organic and some of it's not, but it's...
But as you started to talk, you forget about the fact that you have to feed the cows too.
Right.
Like you said, you have to get land to grow crops
Right.
to feed the. You forget about that. And
We
stuff.
have all of the land we own.
Now, how many acres are over there? Give
So
or
we
take?
own 135. Some of it's there, some of it's on Marsh Hill.
Yeah.
We rent some more land in town, and then there's a gentleman in Haverhill who grows our cow corn for us.
Yeah.
So there's another 70 acres used down there to support our herd.
Wow.
And so we sort of custom farm out that. We used to rent a bunch of land up in Litchfield, New Hampshire, and we're the people that owned it started using it for something else. But there's a tremendous amount of feed. That
So when
comes
you
in.
first started working with your dad, did you think it was going to end up being what it is today?
Well, I don't know that you think in those terms when you're like 12.
Yeah.
But there was no doubt that by the time I got into college, I was looking at a different vision.
Right, yeah.
And I have to say that I probably wouldn't have had that vision if I didn't have parents who had a vision themselves
Right.
to grow the business. So, ice cream and we were selling hamburg and
Yep.
always looking forward. And that's to me
That was the key. Like you said,
The
they had to
idea.
have the first initiative for you to have the second, no doubt.
And
So-
even before that, I mean, I look at the record of my grandfather. My great grandfather left Nova Scotia as a
Yeah.
kid at the age of 15,
Nice.
alone,
Yep.
not with his family. 15-year-old kid moved to Dracut.
Yeah. Guess what, guys?
We're
out of
done?
time.
Yeah.
Thank you both for coming on the show. Thank you for us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Okay.